Hi, and welcome to the Friendship Flow podcast. My name's Katy, and I'll be your host. My hope is to create a space for women entering their wisdom years to learn about friendship from all their own personal experience and create the circle of friends they desire and deserve. I hope to explore this subject with you so that you can explore what friendship means to you in your life. I created a 5-step approach to accomplish just that. 1, self-awareness. 2, connection. 3, boundaries. 4, growth. And 5, joy. Each episode will dive deeply into the steps and how to use them. Hi, friends. After last week's heavier conversation, I wanted to offer something a little lighter today. Today, I want to talk about the small things in friendship, the rituals and tiny moments that quietly make relationships feel safe and good. Those kind of friendships that a friend who's always checking in after a hard day, walking together instead of just texting, the ones that remember birthdays, anniversaries, important dates. And I have to laugh at that one because that I am not good at all. I am not good at remembering any important dates. I do my best and I do mark it down so I will remember and people won't think ill of me. But it can be a problem, you know. It's something that I am always working on. A certain way a friend listens without fixing. I have those friends that, I go to them when I don't want the answer. I just need to go over the situation and maybe give my different ideas on how to solve it and just kind of wrestle through it with somebody. But sometimes you go to someone and they love you so much, they just want to fix everything and tell you what to do and tell you the other person isn't right or whatever the situation might be. And that's not always what you need. So it's good to have a good balance of friends. I find that you can, go to one friend when you need that nurturing and someone to tell you that, you are all there is and you're the best and all those things. Some days you just need to hear. And other times you need that friend that is going to give you the hard truth, and let you know where you stand and maybe say some things that you don't want to hear, but it's coming from such a loving place. It's okay. There's, I don't know if this is the right word or not, but I used the word when I was going over all of this, rituals in friendship. I don't know if that's the word, but some of those things that we create with friends, like the weekly coffees or morning walks or runs or hikes, book clubs, yoga with friends, going to the gym with a friend, those check-in phone calls. I listened to a podcast this morning, and it was about friendship, and it was an old podcast, so I was surprised I hadn't heard it. But she talked about those things that we expect from friends, that sometimes our expectations aren't what theirs are. And sometimes you have to be the one. You have to be the one to make the phone call or set up the dinner party, or call for the invite. Sometimes, life gets busy for people, and they're not forgetting you. They're involved in their own life. So there are times where it might be you always reaching out, and that's okay. If you're not getting responses ever and there's always a no, then you have to decide if this friendship is working, or maybe have a hard conversation. But, in my family, this isn't to do with friendships, but in my family, I am the one that if I didn't invite people or stop in or make the phone call, I wouldn't hear from them. And I know they love me. It's not that. It's they're busy and people get on with their lives. And it's not that they forget you, and they love seeing me or hearing from me and doing things with me. They're just not the ones to reach out. It's not in their nature. So it goes the same for friendships. There sometimes is that one friend that pulls everybody together in the circle. And, it's okay to be that person sometimes. And sometimes it might feel hard. It might feel like, maybe one-sided, or you're doing all the work. But to keep those relationships, the important relationships alive, sometimes you are the one. And I actually settled into that years ago because I, like I said, have a family that I probably wouldn't ever see if I wasn't the one that reaches out and plans things. And I don't mind doing that. I'm really comfortable with it, and I think it's easier for me to be comfortable with that in friendships as well. But if you're not that person and not used to being that person and find yourself in that situation, it could get tricky for you. And, maybe look at that and say, is this friendship worth me being the one that reaches out? As long as you're getting that response on the other end, I don't see anything wrong with you always being the one. That it shouldn't be a problem if it keeps the friendship alive and you're enjoying the friendship. And having some empathy for the person that's that busy, but when they hear from you, they are willing to go to that movie or have that phone chat or whatever the situation is. But when we can keep those little rituals, that word again, and I'm not sure if there's a better word. That's the only thing I can think of that you do repeatedly because you want to do, and it makes it in my personal life, it's, I love the morning. I get up at 4:30 every day and I do something. I'm one of those people that I kind of jump out of bed and make my bed right away. I go to the kitchen, do the dishes if anything's left in the sink, and I make sure, my husband's lunch and breakfast is made. All those things are done before 5 o'clock in the morning. And then I either go out for a run, I meet friends, sometimes for a hike. On the weekends, I tend to meet friends for hikes and walks and things like that. During the week, sometimes I'm solo, and that's okay. Since I've moved to a new town, well, it's not that new. It's been 8 years. I have not recreated a morning group that I do activities with early in the morning, but it's okay sometimes to be alone too. I find the solitude gets me ready for the day too. So I've created friendships here in a different way. And that does include book clubs, yoga, things like that. And just like in yoga, it's the consistency, the practice that builds the strength and the trust. So, those everyday things or those things that are continuing that you always do, just make things stronger, make things tighter in that relationship. And we also have to remember that just because you've done something for 8 to 10 years or all your life maybe, sometimes those things also change as life, usually when you're in college, you're seeing the same friends over and over again, or that age, that young age, it's easy access, proximity, and interests are right there, and you can easily access your friends. You're doing more things. And then as the next step might be, friends start getting married, moving away for careers, all different situations that happens in your late 20s, your 30s. And then the children start coming in and all that. And it separates people, not because they don't like you anymore or they don't have anything in common. Just it could be simply proximity, or it could be things have changed. Maybe one chose a different path, maybe a religious path, or they don't drink anymore or do the same activities anymore. So it just limits the time that you see them, and you change. So, and that's okay. And it doesn't mean the friendship wasn't worthy. It just means you've moved on from it, or they've moved on from it, and maybe you'll reconnect at a different time. And maybe you won't, and that's okay. It's still a valid friendship. And when friendships do change, sometimes you have to grieve that loss. It's not always you that is making the change. Sometimes the other person pulls away for whatever reason, and it's okay to grieve that loss without losing touch of the valued friend you are. And in yoga, we don't practice the same pose forever. Our bodies change, our seasons change, and we practice different ways. And that's okay. That's life. And it's the same with friendship. If we think of it as a practice, things change. As we age, illnesses happen, death at any age, death happens. But as we age, we tend to see more of that. And it's hard. It's not easy. I was just at a funeral 2 days ago of a friend, and reality strikes. We don't have everyone in our life forever. So it's important that we do embrace every moment with our friends and make our friendship circles what we want to get out of this life, what our purpose is, aligning with their purpose, and creating that really strong bind. And maybe it's not always about getting a friendship back that you've lost. Maybe it's about, what can I do differently? What do I need to replace that, or, fill that void? What do I need now in my life? Where am I, so that I can fill that spot that that friend may have filled for a number of years? What I'm learning is healthy friendships aren't the ones where rituals never change. So maybe make that weekly coffee become a monthly coffee instead, if it's not available for that person. Or make the phone calls short but intentional. Maybe the reunions aren't as frequent because of whatever reasons, proximity or health or whatever the case may be. Connection doesn't disappear when ritual ends. It just asks to be practiced in a new way. I started asking myself this simple question: what are the small things in friendship that actually make me feel loved? Not the big gestures, not the dramatic moments, but the ordinary ones, the ones that happen over and over again. And as I thought about that, I realized how much of friendship is built through ritual, through the things we return to again and again. In yoga, we talk about practice, about showing up consistently, even on the days when it's not perfect. And I think friendship works the same way. It's about showing up. If you don't show up, you're not invested. It's shaped by the walks we take, the calls we keep, the coffee dates we protect, and the small ways we say, I'm here. Maybe friendship doesn't need to be complicated. Maybe it's built slowly and quietly in those small rituals and moments we return to again and again. Let's spend a few minutes reflecting on the simple rituals and ordinary moments that make friendship feel good. So for me, the reflection is keeping an open mind for my friends, keeping that channel open and not being afraid to be the one, to be there, making the phone call, making the invite, hosting the party, whatever it takes to keep those bonds strong. I've been thinking a lot about that this whole podcast came about with me thinking about friendship and, how it changes in the years of wisdom. As we age, things do not stay the same. And, we have the power to create how we want it to look. We can't create or change circumstances. Circumstances stay the same. If it's raining out, it's raining out. We can't change that, but we can change our perception. And the same goes for friendship. We can create those friendships. We can make new friendships. There's never a time in life that you can't make a new friend. You have that power. You have that ability. The people are available. You have to show up. So in closing, I just want to say that be open and think about how you want your friendships to look. And it can be simple. We don't need like I said earlier, the grand gestures and the big hurrahs. We need that smile that makes us feel loved. So look how you're showing up and look how your friends are showing up and make a decision, a conscious decision on how you want it to look in the future. And I invite you to look at my Substack that will be a continuation of this conversation, but in maybe a different look at it. I also wanted to recommend, if you haven't read it yet, The Four Agreements. I've read this years ago and I've gifted it probably 100 times over the years. And the four agreements are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personal, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And that's all we can really ask from anyone. And those are the four agreements, and it's a really short read, but it's so powerful. So if you choose to take a look, I think it would be a great thing to do. And also my Facebook page, Elevated Adventures Yoga, you can find me there. And I look forward to hearing it from you. And I'll be here next week. Thank you.